Welcome, everyone. My name is Kinga Ince. I'm the founder and CEO of mediaspace.global, operated by White Report Global Limited in the UK. Today, I have with me Lavina Sedentiran. She's our head of content and communications, and she's going to be the co-host today. I will introduce our special guests later, and you all will have an opportunity to introduce yourself if you join this call. I'm telling it obviously to those who are watching the live stream on our different social channels. So before we start, a few words about Mediaspace. Mediaspace.global is the B2B social network and ecosystem for leading and ambitious professionals in media, marketing, technology, and regulation. We started to develop it in January 2020, as you know, before COVID, and launched in May 2020. This is basically to create global conversations and to ensure that our members can meet people, not just profiles. This global monthly networking session is about the changes and the future of ad sales, media sales, business development internationally and locally. So that's going to be the topic for the panel discussion. But before we go into that, I'd like to tell you the structure. So first we start with this fireside chat with our special guests. Then we close the live streaming. So if someone is watching us on the live stream, please join the call if you want to be part of the member-to-member conversation, which is the second part. And for that, we will have an informal environment here on this call. And I'd like to ask Lavina to tell you the house rules, and then we will start with the special guest discussions.
Hi, everyone. So if you haven't already done so, can you change your name so that you have your full name and company on the screen so that we can identify you and others can find you as well? If you haven't done so already, can you sign up to mediaspace.global and you'll have access to free events like this one. If you want to share your name and the email address in the chat, then please feel free to do so that you can be found afterwards and continue the discussions offline. We're also recording the event and we'll make it available to our premium subscribers, and we'll publish screenshots during the event. So if any of that's not okay, then probably not the right place, but hope you stay. Over to you, Kinga.
Thank you. So we've got three special guests today, and I would like to ask Annika first to introduce yourself, then Mahmoud and Simon.
Perfect, thanks, Kinga. Hi everyone, I'm Annika Geiger. I'm a brand direct lead, so I oversee Magnite's brand direct business across EMEA. Magnite is an SSP, so although we're a supply-side platform for publishers, all of my career I've spent working with direct advertisers and agencies across the EMEA markets. I'm also very engaged in the field of women in tech and women in leadership. So I'm part of the Women in Programmatic Network, which is the TWIPN, which you'll see next to my name. I've also done, because I'm German, live in London though, I've done a lot about women in tech in German TV, magazines, on radio. And for those kind of efforts to get more women in tech, I've also been awarded with the title of the second runner-up for Miss Germany 2022. Great, thank you.
Mahmoud?
Yes, hello everyone. So my name is Mahmoud Alkasi. I've been working in Dubai for the past 22 years. I worked in the media industry for the past 15 years. A majority of my experience comes from the offline media sales. My background was offline, and then I shifted, of course, to the digital. I currently hold the position of Senior Sales Manager, Media Solution at Ouigo. Ouigo is the largest online travel marketplace in the MENA region, where we offer a meta search results to travelers in the MENA and globally as well, where people can go search for flights, hotels, activities. I joined recently. It's been 2 months in the travel and tourism industry, and it's been so nice joining Ouigo and learning more about the industry and the vertical of tourism, as well as adding my experience in the digital sales to the media solutions that we have. It's lovely to be here. Nice meeting all of you, and hopefully we have a good session.
Thank you, Mahmoud. Simon, please. You are on mute.
Good. What is the world without unmuting? Hi, I'm Simon Farnfield. I am the director of the Publishing Show, which is a trade show in London for the media publishing industry. My career has been full of business development from the very beginning. So I worked at businesses like Reader's Digest, The Times, News UK, Haymarket, and so on, selling media publishing solutions. And more recently, that's taken the guise of launching events, launching trade shows, conferences, awards, and so on. So I'm really pleased to be here. Hopefully I can share some interesting insights and listen to some of the other panelists as well. So thank you.
Thank you. So let's start with the first question, which is about the changes this year in terms of what you do. Obviously, there was the COVID impact that everyone had on their work, but I wonder what you feel now in October 2022, because we had so many different phases in different ways of working and so on. So where do we stand now, and what do we believe the main issues are currently? Who's gonna start?
I'm more than happy to jump in. Yeah, so I feel like the biggest change we've seen is really the change in people, right? Because we've all went through this, well, sort of, traumatic experience being all locked in, and especially in sales, where it's really a people's business, we now have to find new ways to engage with our customers. And I feel like now people, all of us, we want more flexibility, more freedom than ever before. So if we want to adapt a truly customer-centric approach to sales, like really helping our people, we need to know, like, how do they want to engage with us? Like, what channels do they want to use? Are they willing to meet us face-to-face, which is ideal? But obviously, if they're not, what are the platforms? What are the channels? What works for them, and how can we engage with that? And I feel like along with how have customers changed, businesses changed, it's really like agility that's needed, right? We need to be able to respond like in real time to market challenges, because through the COVID pandemic, through, the political situations we're on, there's constantly change. The advertising ad tech industry is already an industry that's characterized by change. So I feel like now than ever before, we need to be able to, see what are the challenges the clients are facing, how can we respond to that, how can we create internal structures that enable us to respond to it in real time, but then obviously also looking into the future, we need to anticipate change, because I think it's not enough anymore to fill gaps for our customers right now and be like, well, this is your problem, this is the solution we can offer. It's more like, well, in the long term, what's the industry going to look like, right? How can we partner with you in the long term? What change do we anticipate? And I feel like we almost need to proactively outpace change to stay relevant, to form long-term relationship, because in a climate of change, it's just not anymore to fill gaps right now. You need to look into the future and kind of have more long-term strategic objectives.
Yeah, I kind of back that up. I agree with you. And I think one of the biggest challenges that my business development team has had since the pandemic is, in the past, it was very much about being in front of the customer. We were always, that was the main key thing. Although it was changing slightly, but getting a face-to-face appointment, building that trust with that person, making that effort to go to their offices, sit down with them, listen, understand what their issues are, and build a solution based around that was, that was a critical part of the sales process. Now, or since the pandemic, obviously this kind of environment was very, very useful, and it gave us an opportunity. But what I think it's developed is a little bit, and we've tackled it specifically recently, is it's developed quite a laziness amongst my sales team. because they think this is it, they can build it, and they've struggled to kind of get the prospects to go down the route, and it seems to kind of take too long. So building that trust virtually has been a real challenge. So that's, I suppose that's a key bit, and in certain listening to your clients and getting to understand them, we're now making a focus on trying to get back into them face to face, although that has its challenges as itself, because people are working from home, they're not in an office, so it's hard to get that change. But yeah, I think that's probably one of the key things that we've been focusing on as a team.
Mahmoud, what's your experience?
Well, the challenge when it comes to media sales now in the GCC, it's not any way, or it's not anymore the traditional way of selling media. Before the pandemic, we used to sell media spaces on all the traditional platforms, from TV, radio, prints, outdoor, indoor, and even the digital. Post-pandemic, now advertisers are looking for creative and out-of-the-box ideas to be implemented all over the platform. So the traditional way of selling just a TVC, or like impressions or programmatic or native ads or social media posts, is not working anymore with most of the advertisers, especially with big companies who are looking for creative ways to reach their audience, to drive them from the awareness level and convert them down the funnel. This is basically, I would call it, it's a time-consuming practice, or it's a time challenge, because in the past, we used to service like 10 clients, 15 clients a day, send 15 proposals, 25 proposals a day on different media channels, different markets. Nowadays, we have to brainstorm the idea. We have to involve the creative team. We have to consult third-party suppliers. We have to bring teams from other departments to be involved and to share ideas, and this all takes time. So it's basically sometimes we run out of resources just to come up with a media plan and just to come up with a couple of ideas for the campaign. So it's a time challenging, and resources at the same time.
Is it the same for you, Annika?
Yeah, I was just going to say, it's very similar like to what we see, because we are also a platform where you can buy, all sorts of formats, like a display, online video, CTV, audio, everything. So now it's not just about that anymore, right? People don't just want a CTV deal. They want to see like, what's the incremental reach across all formats? How can I, almost handhold my customer throughout the online journey? And I guess that also goes back to the point that I made before, like clients aren't looking for that one, like just that filling the gap, right? They're not looking for you for that one solution. They're looking to you to be their partner and to, be very involved and be aware of their objectives and their challenges. And like you're there to help them increase their return on ad spend. You're not just there to provide them with a deal that, includes different formats. So I think it is obviously very challenging, but it's also a great opportunity to form very strong relationships with the brand. So I feel like it has both sides. Obviously, it does take a lot more resources. So I think it's up to the businesses and like this environment to then also invest in their people so that you have the resources available to be more really consultants than salespeople. Yeah,
I agree. I think we're finding that clients, I don't know if it's a confidence thing with, and they're everyone's a little bit nervous about jobs, and so sometimes you do get people who are, they are probably leaning on you a little bit too much to kind of get the solution that might work for everything. But certainly the biggest challenge that we've seen is obviously there's more and more the bigger requests to come through in terms of help us deliver this and this. Can you do that, and that? We're like, well, okay. So we come back to the business and say, can we do this and this? And then resource is an issue because obviously the pandemic, we lost a lot of staff. And we're putting a lot of pressure on the internal teams. But I don't know whether other people have had the same experience, but we've made it quite a clear communication internally that we need everyone in the office. And I suppose that might be a bit of a shock for some people, but that's really what we need in terms of to be able to help in the future. Because I think if you're working remotely, I think we found that that's been difficult amongst the people side of delivery for clients. So yeah, I don't know whether other people have that similar thought process of whether they're back in the office. I can see that Aline is not; she's sitting at home. But yeah, that certainly feels like what you need to do.
Actually, this is the elephant in the room, I think,
Yeah.
and we wanted to ask all of you about this because everyone is interested in current rules in terms of the remote work and in-office work. And I just wanted to go back to what Annika said, that she suggested to follow the customers' communication-based patterns, but what if that conflicts with your team's expectations? So what do you do currently? What's your current role in terms of the in-office and remote work?
You mean me?
Yeah.
I mean, for us, it's a mix, right? We should be in the office from Tuesday to Thursday, and then working from home Monday to Friday. But I feel like I like that that's being enforced, and I do know it was quite a struggle for a lot of people in the beginning. But I think it does add to just kind of having that exchange of information in the office. I do think businesses need to be flexible, because for some people and for some roles that might just not work, right? It depends on what market you're managing. Are you in the field? Are you managing, markets that you would have to fly to anyways? So I think it's good to have a structure in place that brings everybody together, but you have to be flexible as well and look at the individual, their goals, their teams, their customers, and see how and if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think that just on that, motivation amongst business development teams, like keeping them motivated, keeping the passion, the energy going, because it's a pretty difficult job, right? Like generating prospects, getting on the phone, trying to get hold of people is a lot harder than it ever used to be. I mean, in the old days when I first started, it was here's a list of phone numbers, just bang the calls out. Pretty brutal, basic way of selling. You don't have any, but now it's much cleverer. We've got data teams and marketing teams that help filter down you to a certain point, and then it's a little bit of social selling, and so on. But still, it's good to have other people around you that are facing the same issues, not someone that's 6 miles down the road and you're WhatsApping each other, but actually someone next to you, and you have that water cooler moment where you stand there and you chat to them, you're getting your glass of water. It's like, oh, what about that? Yeah, I've had a problem here, or I've had a problem there, and I've tried this and this has worked. And I think that is really important. And I know it's difficult, but I would definitely say you need to get that back if you've lost that. Yeah.
Mahmoud, would you like to add anything?
Yes, of course. I'd like to elaborate on the same point mentioned by Simon. Like, I feel nowadays the advertisers know exactly what channels work for them, and they are kind of selective, with what works for them, what doesn't work for them anymore. And the shift in digital, I would say the significant shift in digital spend in the past 5 years, it drove them into the digital channels for sure. So we follow basically in terms of sales, we follow a simple 3 steps to make the sales and B2B sales more efficient. It's qualify, approach, and next steps. So nowadays, we don't call just random advertisers or we do cold calling, as we used to call it back in the old days. We don't just call, let's say, 100 prospects and then 10% of them will convert, because maybe 90% of those are not qualified to what the product I am offering or what media I am offering. It doesn't work for them, whether it's a social media platform, it's a native platform, it's a programmatic platform, it's a TV channel. So nowadays, because of the lack of resources, the time strains, we qualify the advertiser. Like if we feel this advertiser or this brand is qualified to be on board on our platform, and our platform fits into their marketing objectives and marketing goals, and that we can meet their KPIs in terms of conversions, impressions, views, reachability, audience size, then we approach. Because we found out like it's very time consuming approaching to 500 random advertisers, and then we just end up with 5% who converts. So let's do the homework first and qualify first, second approach, and we always approach with the mindset of the next steps. So we always go to meetings, present, fit our media solution into their marketing objectives, agree on the KPIs, and then we always ask the question, okay, so what's the next steps? All right, do we sign the contract? Do you want a follow-up? And this, we saw a significant increase in our efficiency.
Actually, I wanted to ask, in the meantime, that are we speaking about new business in case of Mahmoud and whatever Annika and Simon said, or is there any difference with your current customers, because obviously that's already an existing relationship?
I mean, I can answer on that from my perspective. We launched the publishing show in September 2021, and that was completely, every single client that we've got in there exhibiting is brand new business. So we started immediately from scratch. We had nothing, like zero visitors, zero ex-prom, and we just built it up through whatever. But so most of our business actually in the last 18 months has been brand new and approaching our space. I've got just sort of on a side angle to that. I think it'd be interesting to know the guests here as well and other people whether they've seen a slightly worrying trend that we've noticed is the layers of decision makers inside the process seems to have increased. I don't know if anyone else has actually come across this, but I mean, we're probably on average about 4 to 5 people making a decision on sponsorship and advertising, media sales now, which is making it, and I thought I'd look it up, and actually I looked up, there is research out there to say that it has been increasing over the last 4 to 5 years. And I think that's also really challenging with new business as well, because if you're dealing with 4 to 5 people, which is impossible to get into one room currently, that's slowed the process down of selling. I don't know if anyone else has seen that.
Yeah, let's get back to the members later, because we are live streaming now and I wouldn't want them to involve. Okay. But I wonder what Annika or Mahmoud would like to add.
About kind of maintaining and growing with, oh, sorry, Mahmoud.
No, that's fine. Go ahead, please.
But yeah, I mean, I guess when it comes to maintaining and growing, it's really like for us, back to the point that I made earlier about we need to, rediscover the customer and kind of look at what are the changes, how can we provide value. When it comes to maintaining business, I feel like, it's all about really understanding the change that their business went through when it comes to their workforce, when it comes to budgets that have been cut, deals that might have fallen through, and look at how we can then jump in on that. When it comes to finding new business, it's really the same, isn't it? I feel like you need to be able to position yourself in a position where you're like, I know what's happening. I can be a strategic advisor, and this is how we can work together. So I feel like, as I said before, we need to really rediscover our customers, stay really open, stay really relevant. We need to reimagine our sales force, which is what Mahmoud spoke about earlier. Unfortunately, a lot of businesses have seen layoffs, right? So we need to look at, with a smaller team, we need to qualify customers. You can't just go after everybody. We need to really look at where are the highest valued opportunities, and why are we in the position to be the strongest partner. So I think there's a lot of homework now that we need to do before we even go out to a client, because we have to streamline our efforts. And then, lastly, I think we also need to for both maintaining and growing businesses, we need to reimagine our offering. Like, we need to embrace new narratives, new approaches, new terms, like especially when it comes to, commercial agreements, partnership contracts you might have in place. We need to be more flexible, because you might have worked with somebody who always had like 3, 4, 5 years contracts with, but now they're like, well, with a world that's changing so quickly, with us having to let go so many people, we can't go into that commitment. So I think we need to just rethink, how do we define partnership? How do we build partnership? But also, are there new ways of how our solutions that we offer, that we can put them together in new, innovative ways to provide that value to the customer or customize it for different clients?
Mm-hmm. Okay, I think we are running out of time for the first session. So my last question would be for all three of you, starting with Mahmoud. What do you suggest for 2023 in terms of product development and sales to everyone who is watching?
Yes, of course. So in terms of product development, I believe it all comes down to study the market first and study the opportunity. And I would summarize maybe in the 3 points. So first of all, to study the opportunity, if there is an opportunity for the product, and if the product already exists in that market.
Sorry, Mahmoud, can you just summarize in 1 minute, because we need time for the conversation.
So I would say to study the opportunity and the opportunity of innovation. So a lot of products we have seen haven't been innovated for the last 3-4 years. And this doesn't drive excitement with the clients and with advertisers. If they see the same product, the same features every day, the same people every day, maybe they will kind of get bored, because there are other digital solutions in the market that are coming up every day. The second point is to also study the competition in the market. Who is there, what they are doing, what's their approach, what market share they have. So I think for 2023, there will be an increase in the media spend across all advertisers, especially the large companies.
Well, thank you. What's your advice for 2023, Simon?
Well, very simply, it's very similar actually, but one of the things I would do is poll your customers. So what I mean by that is do some research with your customers that you currently have and ones that you want. And I do it in we're going to do it in 3 ways. Firstly is needs. So what do they want? So understand what your customers want, because you may find things that your product isn't relevant, or areas that it is, and you can develop that. Find out their purpose. Why do they read or come to your event, or why do they come to your websites? What do they do? And then the value. Understand the value of why they use your products, why they come to your event, why they read your magazine or whatever. And that, for me, that needs, purpose, value is a strategy that I've got, which I believe will give me the foundation to be able to launch products, grow products, maintain them. So yeah, that would be my main advice, and that because that's what I'm going to do, and I think that it does make clear sense. And I've heard a few people say that to me.
Mm-hmm. Great, Annika, what's your advice for 2023?
Yeah, that's difficult because everything has been mentioned before. But, let me be very specific to advertising. Maybe it's all about embracing new formats, such as, like, example, connected TV, audio solution. Work with your advertisers of how they want to implement that. You know, how that really drives their business outcomes. But then also finding solutions for. That's a big elephant as well, like cookie-less future, like how you handle privacy. So one of the reasons why Simon said before there's more and more decision makers is because there's more topics we now need to cover, like legally, you know, from a privacy perspective. So I think look at what's new, what's shiny, what does your customer want to work with, but then also what does it bring with it when it comes to privacy, for example.
Excellent. Thank you so much. I'm going to stop the live streaming now and asking Lavina to tell you how we do the introductions.